Welcome to Vibrant Art Studio. Today's lesson is an introduction to perspective, and we'll be creating a box. I'll start by putting a line on the canvas to represent the horizon and a blue dot to represent our vanishing point, which is the point where everything vanishes. Everything gets smaller as it goes to the horizon, and it finally vanishes. So I'm going to make 3 lines going to the horizon, and those are parts of the edges of my box. And then the back of the box I'm going to make with an upside down L, and it's very important to get the verticals and horizontals lines correct when it comes to buildings and boxes. So here I go. Needs a little correctioning then. And then the other side of the box is going to be created with making an L. And painting is just a series of corrections until you get it right or acceptable. And so I'm going to correct that line. Now the next thing I'm going to do is quickly paint over some of the lines I don't need, so we can focus on the box. Now we have to take into consideration our light source. So the light's coming from above. It's going to hit the top of the box, so that'll be our lightest. The side will have our midtones, and the back of the box will have our darkest tones because it's furthest away from the light source. So I'm going to use a little bit of that non-color that we get from mixing our 3 primaries together. And I'm going to use that for my darkest shade. And we're going to make this box to start out using just shades created from that non-color. Or should I say it is a rainbow of colors because it has all the colors in it. Anyways, here's the back of the box. I'm just putting that dark in. I want you to notice how the top of the box gets smaller as it gets closer to the horizon, as well as the side of the box gets smaller or narrower. So now I'm going to put in my midtone just by adding a little bit of white. And some light will hit that side. It's not the furthest away, but it won't be my lightest color either. Now, one of your assignments would be to look at buildings and notice the light hitting them, and that it's lighter on one side of the building and darker on another. So let me just clean up these lines a little bit. I'm constantly correcting. Now we're going to look at that upper surface, which has the most light on it, and that will be the lightest surface. Now another assignment would be to go and get a Spider-Man comic or some comic where they have a lot of buildings. You think of Spider-Man climbing those buildings, and they all go into a vanishing point. It's a good visual for perspective. You're just always correcting those lines. And now I've got my lighter, my midtones, and my dark, and it's starting to look like a box. But my box is floating out in space, and so I'd like to anchor it, and I do that by putting a shadow. So I need to consider my light source first, and then I'm going to go ahead and put in my shadow where it belongs. Now, one thing I like to do when it comes to color is Where sun hits or where it's warm, I like to put warm colors, and where sun is lacking in the shade, I like to put cool colors. So I'm going to mix a little bit of a peachy color, and I'm going to go ahead and put that on my box. I'm going to go ahead and put it up on the lightest part right now. A lot of people do underpaintings where they put all their shades in and then they just add a little bit of color so they can block out, you know, their darks, their lights, and their midtones, and then they put the colors in. And I'm doing this somewhat. I'll be doing it along the way. One thing also I noticed with novice painters, a lot of times they'll just take a color and just use one color, so it's very flat like a poster. Go ahead and use little bits of different colors. You see I've got some orange and some yellow, as well as some of that gray showing through here. And I'm just going to mix some around to give it a little bit of texture. Light bounces all over everything, so it really shouldn't be flat. Now I'll put some lavender in the back to cool that color off, as well as a little bit blue in the shadow, because I want some cooler colors on that side of the box. Now that we've got our box anchored, I'm going to go and put some light against dark, dark against light, and you'll hear me say that over and over again. It'll make the painting pop. So I'm just going to put some paint on the canvas, and then I'm going to blend it in and do my corrections. So I'm going to mix some of that dark color up again, and I'm going to put it up by the top of the box, which is my lightest surface on the box. I'm just going to put some of the color on the canvas, and then I'm going to put some of the white on the canvas, and then I'm going to do some of my midtones, and then I'm going to speed it up. I'm going to add some color along the way, and as you'll see, I'll be correcting all the time, straightening those lines out, but just blending those shades that I put in to make that box pop. Just correcting all the time. Now I'm going to put my color in. Like I told you, you can put it over if you block your color in. And I think color breathes life into a painting. So there we go, adding some texture, clarifying the box, and now we have a box. And that's your lesson in perspective today. I hope you got something out of it, and visit us again soon at Vibrant Art Studio.